Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Mueller, and I am sitting here with a number of newly assigned District Apostle helpers. Joining me right now is Apostle Peter Lambert. So we'll start right off and jump in. Along with your assignment, you've also been designated as the successor to your District Apostle. How did that feel on the one hand, and how did the members and ministers react to that?
Well, it was unexpected, so it was a big shock. It's not the kind of thing one thinks about or prepares for. And I think most ministers would say it's the kind of thing that you would fear. And knowing that I've taught many over the years to trust that it's the Lord's work, knowing that I've been raised always, it's fine when it's the other guy. It's always easier. But when the Lord calls you, then you've got to practice actually what you've been taught and what you've taught others. So that's been a journey for me. Fortunately, I think since the assignment, it's now more official, and I know I have to use the time to observe, to learn, to watch my district apostle, to take notice of maybe the little finer things that before, one didn't notice so much. And there's more calmness, more focus on what the task will entail, focus on what I need to be, what I need to become. I mean, that one is a work in progress, I think, sure. Lifelong, but more so now for the task.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how did the ministers react?
I must say I've only had well wishes, positive feedback from those who spoke to me. And yeah, what touched me, one or two even said to me, "Thank you for accepting," which made me think that there are those that realize that it's not, as some might think, a promotion, something to some kind of reward, but actually something that most guys would not want, and that there are members that say, we know that and we pray for you. That means a lot to me.
That's a beautiful sentiment, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've also worked together with 3 district apostles. What experiences do you take from this for your task? And who has influenced you and how?
In a nutshell, all 3. I had very little work experience actually when I was asked to come and work for the church, to become responsible for the music. So I was about 2.5 years out of university. And so District Apostle Graf was then my first boss, and I also had, you could say, either the good fortune or the bad fortune that from day one I reported directly to the District Apostle. Uh-huh. It came with wonderful benefits because I could learn, but it also came with a lot of pressure. I felt the heat very often, but in hindsight I can see the hand of the Lord. And yeah, I think the one thread that runs through the 3 District Apostles that I've worked with, obviously, is their absolute unity with the chief apostle, uncompromising. And to me, that was always a wonderful example. The other one that stood out was that each one was different, and yet the Lord fulfilled His purposes in and through each one of them, and that they allowed God to use them as they were, and they brought their dimension, their perspective, their gifts, their talents, and yet with an absolute respect for the predecessors and for the history and the heritage of God's work. And that's made me, I think, also develop this big awareness. We live in a time often where people, maybe younger people too, would like to revolutionize things and change things overnight. And to revolutionize things, you need a broad range of powers. But I also believe you need a broader perspective. Your vision cannot be narrow when your powers are broad. And that's what I've learned, I think, watching the 3 District Apostles, that they had this power to change things, to influence things, but they could do it with a perspective of God's work over a long time and over a breadth of dimensions as well.
So music has obviously had a high priority for you in your life. The question here is, what does music mean to you in the context of your faith?
Yes. My exposure to music was actually from day one in the context of my faith. I grew up in a town 400 kilometers away from Cape Town, and at the time we didn't have the facilities of musical education, formal preparation for studying music at university. So in that sense, I had, from a professional point of view, a disadvantaged upbringing. But in the home, my mom was an organist in the congregation. My dad was a choir conductor. So I grew up with hymns being sung, and the love for church music and expressing our faith through our singing and so on. That very much was part of my upbringing. And later on, becoming responsible for music, even when I went to then study music, I could never separate that from my faith. And during my years leading the music work, it was always for me important that even the highest trained musician had to be aware that in the work of the Lord, it is firstly God's work and not a work of art or professionalism and so on. And yeah, so that was very much part of my my value system, I think, as a music worker in the Lord's work. But yeah, the love for the music still there. Yeah, and since my years now in pastoral work, ministerial work, I haven't been involved in music. But I must say, when one sits in a concert or you hear something, yeah, it stirs a lot of things.